What is going on, everybody? This is Josh, back again with another video on Tech and Ish. Today's video is going to be about New Amsterdam. Newest episode was just released a couple hours ago, and this episode was pretty crazy. There's this one little girl in this episode that was just completely freaking me out, which kind of made me want to watch this show until the very end, and it actually made me want to talk about it. So let me just stop and let's get into it. So it looks like Max is kind of like still in the same boat. He's still talking to his wife, even though she's dead. He's still talking to her, and you can actually see that she's kind of like talking to him, telling him things to do to make the baby happy. It's kind of sad that that's what's going on in his life, and it looks like he's just keeping it to himself. So I kind of feel like maybe as the episode goes on, it's going to get a lot worse, or he ends up finding somebody else. So on the last episode of New Amsterdam, Dr. Kapoor finds out that he's going to be a grandfather. And he's extremely happy. But Ella ends up telling him that she's not going to want the baby, or she's not going to want to keep the baby. And throughout this whole episode, he's kind of like freaking out. He wants to talk to her, but he doesn't know how to approach it. So he's like meditating. He's, trying to do as much as he can just to get his mind off of it. But, things are not working out for him. As you know, Max, in almost every episode, he's always trying to help people, and he's always battling the higher ups. It's either his bosses or it's the insurance company. And this episode is no different. Dr. Sharp ends up having her patients who are going through radiation. And the lady wants to have kids. So she wants to do like a whole surrogate thing, but her insurance all of a sudden doesn't want to cover it. Dr. Sharp doesn't like that. She ends up talking to Max, telling him if there's something that he can do. Max ends up calling the insurance company, and it's like he's transferred from place to place, because when he calls them, they're not even in America. They're like somewhere across the world. And he ends up just getting transferred, and it just keeps on going from call to call to call. And he's actually on hold throughout the whole time. So Max is just continuing to help people throughout this episode as well. You also see Dr. Bloom. She's having a lot of issues because she's a recovering addict. And the only way she can get rid of the pain was by having sex with her physical therapist. Now, the physical therapist is basically gone. He's on vacation, and now she's just trying to find what the hell she can do to get her mind off of it. She also tries to meditate with Dr. Kapoor, and in that sense, she ends up realizing that she needs to go to a meeting, because all she did was substitute one addiction for another addiction, and she actually figured out a way to actually make herself better. Now, there's this kid who ends up being wheeled in through the emergency room on a stretcher, and he's wearing a neck brace. He ends up having some marks around his neck, and they start talking to the dad, they start talking to the mom, and the dad and the mom, they end up saying that the son tried to kill himself. Now, when I heard this, I turned up the volume. I was like, my eyes were glued onto this, because I want to know what's going on. Why did he try to kill himself? Because this kid is young. He's probably like maybe 8 years older, or a little bit older, but he's young. So they end up finding out that it's not cable marks around his neck. It's somebody's hand that, somebody was trying to choke him. The dad ends up taking the blame, saying it's his fault, that he's the one who actually did it. The mom ends up saying that it's her who actually did it. And they end up saying it's neither one of y'all, because your hands are too big. Plus, none of them have like defensive wounds on their hands. It turns out it was his little sister, or maybe a little bit older sister, but it was basically his sister who ended up doing it. Now, I thought that shit was crazy. That the fact that it was a little sister who actually did this, like, what the hell did he do for the little sister to do this? And I mean, he almost died. So, like, what the hell's going on? Max is basically still on hold. He was on hold in the beginning, and he's continuing to be on hold. He ends up continuing to get transferred from place to place. He's trying to find somebody in the United States that he can actually talk to, who can actually help him. At least somebody in where he's at in his city. He's trying to find somebody there that can actually help him. Now, Iggy is talking to the little girl. The little girl is the one who ended up choking her brother, almost killing him. And he finds out that she has like no emotional sense. He ends up diagnosing her as a psychopath. Now, this kind of actually reminded me of an episode that happened on Criminal Minds. This episode was actually crazy, where a little kid got so mad at his younger brother that he ended up like shoving a train down his throat, and the parents saw it happen. The parents ended up grabbing the son's body and put him in the woods. They tried to put the blame on a sex offender that was in their street, but in reality it was their younger son. And the reason why the younger son did this is because he was also a psychopath. So Iggy ends up finding out that this girl is also a psychopath, and there's no cure for it. He doesn't know what to do, so he ends up doing just some random tests, see if he can try to find out what he can do to help this little girl. So Max ends up finding this one guy who works at that insurance company for the whole, surrogate thing. He ends up finding him. He ends up talking to him, tries to see if he can actually get him to change his mind.
I can't help
The guy is basically telling him, I'm nobody in this company. I don't have a say-so, so there's nothing that I can do. But Max doesn't stop there. He wants to know who's his boss, so he can actually try to talk to them and see if he can actually get this ball rolling. So what's actually crazy about this little girl who Iggy is talking to, she knows how to manipulate people. She knows what to say, so she basically can get away, or she can, the conversation can end. She knows what to say. And Iggy knows that she's basically playing him. So he's basically telling her, I want to know what's wrong with you, or I want to know what are you thinking of. And she basically lets it loose. She tells him that she really didn't care. She wanted the phone, and that's the reason why she choked her brother out. Now, if Iggy can't find a way to, make the sister and the brother work together where, none of this will happen again, she's going to end up going to like a juvenile center where she's going to be kept there until they can just maybe figure out what the hell to do with her. But Iggy doesn't want that to happen. So he's trying to find a way to, he's trying to come up with a solution to make sure that this doesn't happen. Max ends up finding the guy's boss, the one who he was talking to. He finds his boss, and he's basically telling her, you guys are wasting more money on these other surgeries when you could actually save more money if you did this. Now, instead of that lady actually listening to him, she's basically telling him, well, if we're wasting more money on this surgery, then we'll just not cover that surgery either. Max doesn't like that. He basically just walks out of her office, tells the guy, can you tell me who's her boss? That way he can actually talk to that person. And we'll see where it goes from there. So, this scene pissed me off. I mean, imagine if this actually happened to you. It'll probably piss you off. So, Iggy actually held his composure, but it pissed me off. Iggy is trying to find, he's doing a game, saying that if you apologize to your brother, you get 50 Iggy bucks. With these bucks, you can actually get to be on the phone for a whole hour. Now, since she likes to manipulate a lot of people, she ends up turning the game around. She's basically telling him, so if I end up saying a big apology, you'll give me 50 bucks or 50 Iggy bucks. But what would happen if I give a small apology?
Sure. Okay.
From that point on, that's when she turned the whole game around. She ends up telling him a lot of stuff to Iggy. She disrespects him in a lot of ways. She calls him fat. She says that his kid is stupid because of the art project that he made for Iggy. And she just apologizes for all of that. And she's like, all right, give me $10. Since I apologize for this, give me my $10. And Iggy is actually shocked that she turned the tables on him. And he's basically just blown away on how this girl has no emotions whatsoever. Now, this is that scene that I told you that pissed me off. She's apologizing to him for, degrading him, disrespecting him. and she ends up standing up and she spits in his face. That shit would piss me off. If somebody did that to me, man, oh, that shit pissed me off. Iggy just kept his cool. The little girl sits down, says, I'm sorry. She ends up getting the $50. She's like, all right, now I win. And I was like, damn, this girl was like, damn. So Max ends up finding the boss's boss, and it doesn't show him talking to that person. It just shows him getting kicked out. And he ends up talking to that one guy in the beginning who ends up, he's, trying to call. He's an accountant, basically. He ends up talking to that guy, telling him, hey, you know me. Tell him that you know me. And he ends up just getting kicked out. So Iggy ends up coming up with another game. And in this game, it's a little bit more different than the Iggy Bucks. And he's basically telling her that if you end up making that other person mad in any kind of way, then you lost. You basically have to make it seem like you're compassionate in what you're actually telling them. So he's trying to find a way to actually work with this little girl. I don't think there's an actual way to work with her. So we'll see how it goes. The little girl ends up going up to her brother, tries to apologize to him, and the little brother doesn't want to hear it. He's basically just on his phone. She ends up saying, all right, since I apologize to you, can I be on the phone? The little kid says no, or the brother says no, and she gets pissed. She ends up throwing out all those Iggy Bucks she had. She basically makes it rain. So she ends up getting pissed, and she ends up telling them, I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm like this. I guess the only reason why I always want to be on your phone because it feels like that's the way we can actually connect since I'm different. The brother ends up seeing that she's being sincere about this, gives her the phone. She ends up being happy. She walks out. She looks at Iggy and she basically, moves her lips and says, I win. I was like, damn, this girl is extremely manipulative. So she's screwed. She's basically all messed up. So Iggy knows that she'll never have empathy, but he's hoping that with the game that he created for her, that she could actually live a normal life. So Max has already talked to the insurance company. He's already went through the whole thing. He's gotten kicked out. So his last result was calling other insurance companies, seeing if they would actually cover it. And he's basically getting nowhere. That accountant ends up coming in, ends up providing him with some good news, saying that now they're going to end up putting that surrogate premium back on her insurance, and it looks like things are going well for Max. He always ends up helping people, and he does it in his own certain kind of way, things that I would never actually expect. So that's what I kind of like about this show, is the fact that he does things differently. He sees that there's a patient and he goes beyond helping them. I think that's one of the main reasons why I continue to watch the show. It's not only because of Max. I like his acting, but I like the fact that it's different from other hospital shows. Other hospitals, they basically, they do surgery and, it's a happy ending after that. What Max does, he does a lot of things different, where he jumps through a lot of hoops. He pisses off a lot of people, but he's always doing it to help the patient. And that's kind of why I like this show. So I'll continue to review this show as much as I can, because there's a lot of things coming out, but I'll continue to review it as much as I can. So don't forget to like this video, comment, let me know if there's something you want me to talk about or you want me to review, and subscribe. And I guess I'll just see you guys on the next one. Peace.